Welcome back to another episode of The War Machine. And on this episode, we're going to dive deep into the meeting that will happen in Alaska that will involve states of Russia, Ukraine, and the United States. If you have been following global politics, you actually know that there's a war that is happening in Ukraine, and this war is between Ukraine and Russia. But if you view it at like a historical point of view, this is Russia resisting NATO's movement into their territory. NATO is slowly but surely trying to approach Russia, but Russia is trying to resist because it feels as if NATO is trying to infiltrate its nation. So it came to the attention of the current president of the United States, Donald Trump, to hold a meeting which is in neutral grounds in Alaska, and it has been confirmed to occur on August 15th according to our African time. This will actually be on a Friday, and this will actually call for the leaders of these war-stricken countries to actually come together and find common grounds. And these common grounds will actually mean them actually like finding a concluding resolution, them stopping this war because it has been ongoing for an approximate 3 years currently as we speak. And many people can ask, why do I find myself being interested in actually talking about this conversation? So, the reason why I find myself being interested in this is because I'm in Zambia right now as we speak. I'm currently a Zambian citizen. And the reason why I strongly stand for this meeting being there and people viewing it, trying to see what will be the end result and the conclusion of it, is because in Zambia we're Christian people, and we actually try to promote peace, sovereignty, and unity. And we are in a world that is impacted with global crisis, climate change, overpopulation, a strike, and really a peak in oil prices. So if these meetings had to be had and it being seen to it that they actually have a conclusion that is actually going to render peace at the ending of the day, we'd see that we can also have topics of conversation that will actually deal with these other topics. Because the main thing while we're talking about war here is because lives are being lost. And Trump, of course, has confirmed this meeting to occur, and Zelensky is actually trying to not attend the meeting. There's an uncertainty principle to that, but probably if he shows up, it'll be good because it'll be like a trilateral meeting where two leaders who are at war are meeting with a person who's trying to bring them together, trying to be like the mediator in the war. So yeah. And the reason why Ukraine is trying to actually stand its ground in not trying to attend this meeting is as though they feel as if they attend that meeting, Putin will have in mind of saying that I need my land back. This land which you got from me, I actually need it so that I can actually feel like NATO is not expanding eastwards into my country, which I'm running, which is Russia. So he feels that level of intimidation, and that level of intimidation actually gives him the right to actually try to defend it, and hence this war which we have experienced for this 3 year period. And another thing can be spoken of here, which really strikes me as a person who's living in Zambia, which is a Christian nation. If we had to look at the statistical values which are obtained from Wikipedia, probably a trusted source at my disposal now as we speak, is that the deaths in Ukraine have risen to a record high of 13,580, of which this number also includes 716 children. And when we move to the Ukraine forces, was that's only civilian individuals who have been killed, 13,580. And when we move to military individuals who have volunteered to actually try to fight for this war, the number is 70,935 killed. And when we move to Russian forces, the number is even worse than for Ukraine. It's risen to an approximate 1 million. And that was reported by the Ukraine warlosers.com. And really, when we look at what this war is actually causing at the end of the day, is that it is actually causing people to be displaced from these regions. They no longer feel safe, and this is building to a refugee crisis, and these people don't have access to water, clean water, electricity. They don't have access to education. They don't have access to free speech as I'm having right now. And these are the things that we need to look forwards to discussing and having to put as topics of conversation, so that if we can render help in one way or the other, help can actually be rendered, and we not just have to sit in the sidelines hoping that they'll solve their issues there and then, when there are people like us who are actually like peace promoters, who are actually like peace preachers, who can be on the ground or on the field trying to do something about it. I'm not on the ground right now, but I'm just laying this message so that people can give a close eye and a close attention to the results that will unfold as these trilateral countries try to come together and try to find like common ground, so that this war is at least reduced, because there's a lot of wars happening. Let me just stray away from the Ukraine Russian war. Let's move to the Israel Iran war. That's also something that is like mind blowing when you hear of how many deaths are happening in that side, how many people are being displaced, how many people are not having like the rights to freedom of speech, freedom of education, and how many children are being killed. It's just striking. It will make you feel as though they are not living on the same planet as you are living on. And probably us as concerned citizens and individuals, it calls upon us to actually like try to speak against this violence and war that is happening. Where there's a will, there's a way. As long as there are people who try to promote peace, peace can be seen. And moving on to our next topic, the reason why this war has at least like spilled over to other countries, people can actually feel and say to themselves that maybe at least I don't feel the consequences of war. Maybe you don't feel them, but actually I feel them a bit when I'm actually like trying to travel from place to place, because the oil prices and like the transportation prices that are carrying in my country are not the same. I haven't done a deep investigation on trying to know like how much fuel or how much petroleum we're importing in our country, and how much tariffs we're actually paying for that, how many subsidies are being done by our country, and where the oil is being like obtained from. But me knowing that Russia is one of the biggest exporters of petroleum and oil to distribute to the entire world, it actually can cause a ripple effect on the marketing of this product. And let's talk of this deep rooted conversation, of which is climate change as well as overpopulation. Climate change has been something that has really stricken me in my studies as a microbiologist, and it can be had as a topic of conversation, because there are these big monumental things that are happening that are actually trying to like subside the the topics that we can at least like talk of at this moment in time. And really, it really calls for action to be done, because as Christians, let us just not stand for bloodshed. Let's defend life and also children as well, and let's also just demand for peace. Let's encourage these people who we elect into these positions of office to actually like stand for the country. And what I do believe, when actually like Zelensky and Putin actually are in that meeting in Alaska, they shouldn't actually like put to their minds that they are actually just there because they are individuals. No, they're representing millions of people. And if those people had to have like a leader who they actually like trust to represent them, is those who are going to Alaska. So if they'd at least bear in mind that they're not going there as a result of them actually just going there, they're going there as a result of them being well structured, well selected individuals who their members of their countries actually do trust. So as long as your citizens do have trust in you, at least they do believe that you actually can foster change. And if I were to live in Russia and Ukraine, and if I were to be given the privilege to travel there and see the conditions of which are actually occurring that side, I believe the mindset which I'm having right now wouldn't be the same that I'd have when I go that side, because the things which I'd get to experience that side and just get to see firsthand would actually like blow my mind. And that is why we have to be people who encourage peace. And I urge the listeners to actually like just support Ukraine, support Russia, and let's just support humanity for it as it goes, because we breathe the same air. We actually have the same emotions. We have the same goals in mind. Let us not let land be the divider of us. I haven't known a lot of the historical backgrounds of these things, but let us just actually like try to actually see to it that peace is promoted. And let the Alaska summit be about not only the power game, as I earlier mentioned, but let it be there to stand as something that these people have to call real peace. And let our voices be heard. And even though I'm recording this from Lusaka, I do feel like the Zambians actually stand for peace. Wherever there's war, we don't want to see that. And the generation of which I'm in right now, I do feel as though we respect life a lot. This three-dimensional plane of existence time we've been given shouldn't just be laid to waste. Let us see to it that as we try to chase for peace, we don't only just try to chase for peace in our country that we're in, but let us actually now spread to other areas of the world where peace is lacking so that our effect can be felt there as well. You know, there are people who were born and are actually just still living in war. And as we speak, they are in war and they haven't known peace. But if they had to meet you and probably you actually go in there as a person who's just trying to showcase that peace, you carry that energy. Even if you had to just like end it right there, let me not go side to side, but if you had to die there, at least you'll be a martyr. You'll be a person who stood for peace in my eyes. But I'm not calling for people to start lacing up their boots to say I'm going there to die. But say if you're lacing up your boots to go there, know that you're actually going there to promote peace, not in a violent way, but just whispers of peace. Whisper to the silence. Whisper to this world that is full of war. So, with that actually being said, let us say no to violence and injustice. Let us say no to war, and let us say yes to peace. I've come to the end of this episode of The War Machine. With me, Tente Mushugwe. Have a good one, and may God bless. Thank you.